Hello, my name is Adrian Gray, and I want to introduce you to what a scandalous people the aristocracy of Nottinghamshire have been. So scandalous, in fact, that I've written a book all about it, featuring lust, power, family rivalry, and an extraordinary weakness for gambling. It's a story that features all the big houses: Bestwood, Newstead, Thoresby, Rufford, Clumber, and Welbeck. Judge for yourself which was the worst. Let's take the example of Clumber Park, the majestic creation to a large extent of the second Duke of Newcastle, Henry Pelham Clinton. Here he is at his finest, just coming back from the hunt, but his private life was anything but respectable, and indeed not very private. He and his friend Horace Walpole were rivals for the love of Lady Sophia Fermor, but Horace seems also to have had a passion for Henry, who instead married his cousin, to whom he was spectacularly unfaithful. Supposedly the most handsome man in England, he was also, shall we say, famously well equipped and legendary for his affairs. Another of the many Clumber cases was that of Lord Arthur Clinton, whose two young male friends were arrested for appearing in public dressed as women. Lord Arthur, who had already been disgraced by a bankruptcy, mysteriously died the day before the trial of all three of them for conspiracy to commit a felony. But his was only one of the many scandals that beset Clumber in the 1800s and early 1900s. Over at Bestwood Park there was even more scandal. This is an estate that had been awarded to the King's mistress, Nell Gwynn, whose line produced many scandalous Dukes of St Albans. Indeed, the Duke who built the current house was a notorious adulterer and was cited in a famous divorce case. After him, Sir Harold Bowden of the Raleigh cycle firm had the house, which he shared unhappily with his second wife, seen here with his friends. He married her after an affair, but it was her completely uncontrolled spending of his money that caused further scandal. Over at Thoresby, life was just as lively. Henry Pierrepont was enraged when he found that his daughter had been accused of adultery by her husband, Lord Roos. He had to change his mind when Lady Anne ran off with one of her lovers and returned home pregnant. And indeed, she became the first woman in 100 years to be divorced. Then in 1769, Evelyn Pierrepont, Duke of Kingston, married his long-term mistress, who turned out to be already married. She had previously achieved fame for attending a masked dance wearing an infamously revealing dress. Rufford equally has a scandalous history, but the most momentous occasion was when the famous Bess of Hardwicke arranged the marriage there of her daughter to Charles Stuart, Earl of Lennox. This enraged Queen Elizabeth I so much that their child spent most of her life in captivity and died in the Tower of London. Rufford also produced Sir Henry Savile, who loved to get drunk and take his clothes off, but we have no pictures of him, fortunately. What of Welbeck, you might say? Probably the most unpleasant scandal for them was caused by the family marriage, by which Lord de Walden was a grandson of the Duke of Portland. De Walden proved a monstrous and violent husband, with family members dragged into court as they tried to protect his wife and child. Yet this was the man who had inherited the Portland's vast Marylebone estate. As if that was not enough, the Duke of Portland had to fight a long court battle against some Australians who claimed to have a greater right to his estate, and the evidence even included allegations of trafficking of young women from New York to Worksop. Shocked by what you have heard? Well, there is much more to discover. You can read the full details of all these scandals and many more from across the great houses of Sherwood Forest. All you need is my book, The Scandalous Lives of the Sherwood Forest Nobility. Order now from bookshops or from Bookworm Retford on their website.